Hey guys, Shine here. Today we're going to start from the very beginning in World of Warcraft. However, before we do so, I'll be going over the absolute basics, starting with the different types of realms, races and classes. And I'll do my best to explain things to you in a nice and easy digestible way. Quick disclaimer, this video is aimed at people interested in the game or just recently got into it. So with that out of the way, let's get right into it. World of Warcraft, or more commonly referred to as WoW, is an MMORPG set on the fictional world of Azeroth. WoW is made and published by a very small indie company based in California in the US called Blizzard. As of today, we've seen 7 expansions and an 8th, which is called Shadowlands, is on its way to release later this year. There's just so much lore and story to the game in general and how it came to be that if you are interested in this lore, I highly recommend you check out Nobble's channel on YouTube. The link to his channel will be in the description. When you first log into World of Warcraft, this is the first screen you'll see. It's the realm selection screen. There's tons of different realms. You can play on any one you want. If you're German, you can pick a German realm. If you're French, you can pick a French realm, and so on. So there's 2 types of realms. There's normal realms and there's role-playing realms. If you're new, you could stick to a normal realm. This is basically a PvE realm. However, if you enjoy PvP, you can enable war mode, and this puts you in a phase together with other people that have war mode enabled. There's advantages and there's drawbacks to playing with and without war mode on. RP realms, they're the same. However, the people that play here abide by some unwritten rules. They won't name their character something like Pepsi stinks or something like that. It's just an example. They will not act in a certain way. They won't start yelling out of the blue or something like that. They just follow these rules. People that play on a role-playing server play a whole different type of game. You have to understand that there's a massive difference between PvE and RP realms. But for this kind of beginnings tutorial, we're going to stick with the Doomhammer. Doomhammer is a normal type realm, and the population says new players. I mean, if you're new, you can pick one of these realms. They're not different from the others. It just means newer players play on this realm a lot more. To the left of the screen, we can see the 2 different factions and the races that represent them. The Alliance has the humans, the dwarves, the night elves, the gnomes, the Draenei, and the Worgen. The Horde has the orcs, undead, tauren, trolls, blood elves, and goblins. There's also a neutral race called the Pandaren. They are neutral till they hit level 10, and in order to progress any further as a Pandaren, you have to pick a side. Note there's also allied races. However, if you are new to the game, you won't have these unlocked just yet. Back to the core races now. Each race has a certain set of racial abilities or traits. However, there's so many of them, and some are good, some are bad. I'll just leave a link in the description to a Wowhead article that explains them to you. So first up we have the Warrior. The Warrior is your standard run-of-the-mill fighting class. Every MMORPG has them, so does World of Warcraft, and you can tank and deal damage as a warrior. Next up is the Paladin. Paladins are your first hybrid class you'll come across. This just means they can fulfill any of the 3 roles inside the Holy Trinity that MMORPGs tend to use. So they can be tanks, they can be healers, or they can be melee damage dealers. Hunters are your first pure damage dealing class. All of the 3 specs they have are built around dealing damage. Rogues are also a damage dealing class. All 3 of their specs are also based to deal damage, but there's some slight differences in how they deal the damage. Priests are primarily a healing class, however they do have a damaging spec and a special spec called Discipline, where you heal and deal damage to your foes, and the damage is transferred as healing to your allies. It's a weird mechanic, but it's really cool once you get the hang of it. Next up is the Shaman. They have a melee damage dealing spec, a ranged damage dealing spec, and a healing spec. They twist and turn the elements to do either one of those. Mages are a pure DPS spec. They use Frost, Fire, and Arcane to deal damage. This is a really fun class to play once you get the hang of it. Next up are Warlocks. Warlocks are kind of dark mages. They use the Void and Shadow to cast curses on their enemies or summon large amounts of demons to do their bidding. Next up, another hybrid class, the Monk. They can tank, they can heal, and they can deal damage. Currently this is the best class to tank with. Another hybrid class for you, the Druid. They have 4 specs. They can tank, they can heal, they can either deal range damage or they can get up close and personal, be in melee just like a rogue. Next up is the Demon Hunter. Quick note, if you do not own a level 70 character on that realm, you will not be able to play as a Demon Hunter. They start off at level 70, they can be tanks, they can deal damage. A fun class to play, however it's rather easy to play. Last but not least is the Death Knight. Death Knights can be tanks or melee damage dealers, and they use disease and abominations and the power of blood from their enemies to stay alive. We've come to the end of this brief introduction into World of Warcraft and the first things you see when you load up the game. I would like to thank you all if you've watched the whole thing. This is my first video. It's been trial and error. If there's something I can improve, let me know in the comments. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Thanks guys, see you later.